He shrunk kids and busted ghosts, but at 38, Rick Moranis faced Hollywood's ultimate test, choosing between million-dollar roles and bedtime stories. While others chase fading glory, this comedy king vanished into the shadows to fight his greatest battle, single parenthood. After 30 years of silence, the man who made an entire generation laugh is finally ready to return. This is the story of Hollywood's most mysterious disappearance and the comeback we never saw coming. Our story begins not in Hollywood's glittering towers, but in Toronto's comedy underground. 1976, a 23-year-old radio DJ named Frederick Allen Moranis is grinding through late-night shifts, adopting the stage name Rick Moranis because it sounds better on air. His weapon? A razor-sharp wit and an uncanny ability to disappear into characters so completely, listeners forget they're hearing just one person. Then came SCTV, Second City Television. 1980, Rick explodes onto screens as Bob McKenzie, the beer-chugging, toque-wearing hoser who becomes a Canadian cultural phenomenon. Alongside Dave Thomas, the McKenzie brothers don't just steal scenes, they redefine comedy. Their catchphrase, "Take off, eh?" echoes across North America. The duo's comedy album goes gold. Hollywood scouts are making calls. It was pure alchemy, recalls SCTV producer Andrew Alexander. Rick would walk onto set as himself and emerge as someone completely different. Bob McKenzie wasn't just a character, he was a person Rick became. 1984, Ghostbusters explodes across movie theaters worldwide. Rick Moranis transforms Louis Tully from a throwaway accountant role into comedy gold. It's impossible to be around Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis without having fun, Moranis told critic Bobby Wygant. When director Ivan Reitman called me to do this, I just had to say yes. His motor-mouthed, socially awkward nerd becomes the film's secret weapon. The possession scene? Pure Moranis magic. Director Ivan Reitman reveals, Rick completely reimagined Louis. The script had him as a bland, straight man. Rick made him this neurotic accountant who throws parties for tax write-offs. It was brilliant. 1986, Little Shop of Horrors. Rick proves he's not just comic relief, he's a leading man. As Seymour Krelborn, he sings, acts, and carries an entire musical on his shoulders. "The film is great," he told David Letterman. "There are some wonderful performances." Alongside Steve Martin's sadistic dentist and an all-star cast, Moranis shows range that surprises everyone. Director Frank Oz fought studio executives to cast him. Rick had something vulnerable and real. Audiences would connect with him. Then 1987's Spaceballs, Mel Brooks's Star Wars parody. As Dark Helmet, the diminutive villain with an oversized ego, Moranis creates cinema's most lovably incompetent antagonist. "I see your Schwartz is as big as mine." The action figure scene, the ludicrous speed sequence, every moment is quotable genius. Mel Brooks later called it one of the greatest comedy performances ever filmed. But the role that would define a generation came in 1989. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Wayne Szalinski, the absent-minded inventor dad, becomes Disney's biggest live-action hit ever. If this were made today, it would be very different. Probably just green screen and computer-generated things, Moranis reflected in 2020. And in that film, I was really an actor. I think I drove the director Joe Johnston crazy a few times, trying to get more humor into the film. Suddenly, Rick Moranis action figures filled toy stores across America. From 1984 to 1994, Rick Moranis is everywhere. Ghostbusters 2, Parenthood, My Blue Heaven, The Flintstones. Each role showcases different facets of his talent. He's not just Hollywood's favorite nerd. He's a bankable star commanding millions per picture. But behind the cameras, Rick Moranis is living a completely different story. 1986. At the height of his rising fame, Rick marries Ann Belsky, a costume designer and makeup artist. They have 2 children, Mitchell and Rachel. Friends describe them as Hollywood's rare grounded couple, more interested in bedtime stories than red carpet premieres, and becomes Rick's anchor, keeping him centered as his career explodes. "We were just a normal family," Moranis would later reflect. Ann kept everything real. She reminded me what actually mattered. But in 1991, their world shatters. Ann is diagnosed with breast cancer. For the next 6 years, as Rick continues working, he watches the love of his life fight a battle she can't win. Industry friends recall seeing him rushing between film sets and hospital visits, his famous smile fading behind the scenes. March 1991. Ann Belsky Moranis passes away, leaving Rick a 38-year-old widower with 2 young children. He's at the absolute peak of his career. Studios are offering him franchise deals. His films are breaking box office records. Any other actor would hire nannies, continue the Hollywood machine. Rick Moranis does something almost unheard of in entertainment history. He walks away. I'm a single parent, and I just found that it was too difficult to manage raising my kids and doing the traveling involved in making movies, he explains in a rare 2015 interview. So I took a little bit of a break, and the little bit of a break turned into a longer break, and then I found that I really didn't miss it. Think about this choice. Steven Spielberg is calling with passion projects. Harold Ramis wants him for Groundhog Day. Studio executives are offering blank checks. Rick Moranis turns them all down. His children need him home for homework help, parent-teacher conferences, soccer practice. The mundane, beautiful work of being a dad. I was working with really interesting people, wonderful people, he told The Hollywood Reporter. I went from that to being at home with a couple of small kids, which is a very different lifestyle. But it was important to me. By the late 1990s, fans notice his complete absence. This isn't a career slowdown. Rick Moranis has vanished entirely. No new movies, no TV appearances, no award shows. In pre-social media Hollywood, his disappearance feels even more complete. Tabloids speculate wildly. Industry insiders whisper, "What happened to Rick Moranis?" The truth, when it emerges through rare interviews, is both simpler and more profound than anyone imagined. He chose his children over fame. Things happen to people all the time, and they make adjustments, change careers, move to a different city. Seriously, that's all I did, he explains matter-of-factly. But Rick doesn't completely abandon creativity. 2005 brings a stunning surprise, The Agoraphobic Cowboy, a country music album recorded entirely in his home studio. Songs with titles like I Ain't Goin' Nowhere and Press Pound, wry commentary on modern life from entertainment's most famous recluse. The album earns a Grammy nomination. Rick Moranis, comedy legend turned country crooner. 2013, My Mother's Brisket and Other Love Songs proves his creative spark burns bright. He's not bitter, not broken. He's a man who found different ways to express his art while raising his children. Little-known curiosity. Despite his fame, Rick never moved to Los Angeles. He remained in New York City, walking Manhattan streets unrecognized. Dave Thomas reveals Rick has turned down more money in film roles than most actors make in their entire careers. Directors like Steven Spielberg called repeatedly. He politely declined them all. Industry insiders speak of him with unusual reverence. In a business known for ego and excess, Rick Moranis was unfailingly professional, kind to crew members, someone who knew everyone's name on set. Mel Brooks calls him the greatest comedy talent of his generation who chose fatherhood over fame, and I respect the hell out of him for it. Then, whispers of a comeback begin circulating. September 2020. Ryan Reynolds, owner of Mint Mobile, pulls off the impossible. He convinces Rick Moranis to appear in a commercial after 23 years away from cameras. It's hard to believe Mint Mobile has gone this long without an unlimited plan, Reynolds says in the ad. So to introduce it, we brought back an actor we've all gone way too long without, Rick Moranis. So why am I here? Moranis asks after Reynolds explains he doesn't need to promote anything. I'm a huge fan, Reynolds admits. That's it? Moranis replies with perfect timing. See ya. Reynolds later reveals, we asked Rick to do this 8 days before we shot, kind of as a joke, but after a few emails and a conversation, he agreed. And it was wonderful. Everyone on set was completely enamored, especially me. The commercial goes viral instantly. Social media explodes. Rick Moranis is back. February 2020. Hollywood Reporter drops a bombshell. Rick Moranis will return to the big screen for Shrunk, a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids reboot with Josh Gad playing his grown son. To say getting to see Rick Moranis back on the big screen is a dream come true is the understatement of the decade, Gad tweets, but to say I get a front row seat to see him return to play one of his most iconic roles is the understatement of the century. Welcome back, hero. But the project stalls. COVID, scheduling issues, budget problems. By 2023, Gad admits, COVID, scheduling conflicts, and budgetary woes may have derailed the project. October 2020. Rick Moranis makes headlines for tragic reasons. He's randomly attacked while walking Manhattan's Upper West Side. The unprovoked assault on the beloved 67-year-old actor sparks worldwide outrage. Chris Evans tweets, "My blood is boiling. Find this man. You don't touch Rick Moranis." The incident reminds everyone how much genuine affection the public holds for this gentle comedy legend. Characteristically, Moranis handles the attack with grace. His representative statement, "He is okay but grateful for everyone's thoughts and well wishes." Even in victimhood, he avoids the spotlight. March 2024. Photographers capture Rick walking New York streets in a colorful knit hat, blue jacket, looking like any other 70-year-old New Yorker. The images go viral, proof that one of Hollywood's most beloved stars chose ordinary life over extraordinary fame. And then the news that stopped the entertainment world. June 2025. After 3 decades of silence, Rick Moranis announces his return to cinema. The vehicle? Spaceballs 2, a sequel to the very film where he created Dark Helmet, one of comedy's most quotable villains. Reuniting with 98-year-old Mel Brooks and original co-star Bill Pullman, Rick steps back into the helmet that made him a legend. The announcement feels poetic. Of all the roles he could have chosen, Rick picked the one where he got to be deliciously evil, hilariously incompetent, and somehow endearing. For Brooks, who spent decades trying to convince Rick to return, this must feel like a personal triumph. At his final interview before the comeback, Rick Moranis offers words that define his entire philosophy. "I don't regret anything. My life is wonderful." Think about what this return represents. For 30 years, Rick Moranis chose his children over Hollywood. He missed the Marvel explosion, the streaming revolution, the transformation of cinema itself. While contemporaries built franchises and collected paychecks, he was at PTA meetings and soccer games. His choice of Spaceballs 2 is genius. It's not trying to recapture Ghostbusters magic or milk Honey, I Shrunk the Kids nostalgia. It's Rick returning to pure comedy, to anarchic humor that Mel Brooks perfected. Who better to parody endless modern sequels than the team that lampooned the original trilogy? For a generation that grew up with Rick Moranis, this isn't just a comeback, it's validation. It proves walking away doesn't mean giving up, that choosing family over career doesn't make you a failure, and that sometimes the best stories have second acts we never saw coming. From Toronto radio DJ to Hollywood superstar to devoted single father to returning legend, Rick Moranis' journey transcends entertainment gossip. It's a masterclass in living life on your own terms, in understanding that sometimes the most important performances happen off-screen. His story challenges everything Hollywood teaches us about success. In an industry that worships youth, Rick returns at 72. In a business that demands constant visibility, he thrived in invisibility. In a town that confuses fame with worth, he chose love over legacy. "I was working with really interesting people," he reflects. "I went from that to being at home with small kids, but it was important to me." After 30 years away, Rick Moranis isn't just returning to cinema. He's completing a circle that began with tragedy and ends with the kind of joy only comedy can bring. The man who made us laugh as children is ready to make us laugh again as adults, proving that some things, like genuine talent and authentic character, never fade. The Schwartz is definitely with him. Welcome back, Rick. We've missed you more than you know. The legend returns after 3 decades of silence. What other Hollywood stars do you think made the right choice by stepping away? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and hit that subscribe button for more incredible celebrity comebacks and Hollywood stories. Don't forget to like this video. Thank you.